This video is brought to you by Card Kingdom. I was staring down a lethal board. The Kaalia player was ready to close out the game, dominating the battlefield with an indestructible army. Time was running out and I knew I had to find an answer fast if I had any hope of surviving. But I had one ace up my sleeve. Chandra Flame's Catalyst was ready to ultimate. Win or lose, this turn was going to be a sweet one. But wait, you may have noticed that something is different. This video is on a new channel. Yes, we've made MTG Goldfish Commander, a channel specifically for Commander players. Every week we'll be posting gameplay videos like this one, discussing hot topics like Temple of the False God, and of course, battling it out with the crew on Commander Clash. Be sure to subscribe to get notified when we post new videos. Now let's talk about Chandra. Chandra is one of the most iconic characters in the Magic the Gathering universe, making her debut as part of the original 5 Planeswalkers printed in Lorwyn over a decade ago. Chandra has remained the face of the red archetype ever since, a fiery, hot-headed pyromancer whose impulsive passion is matched only by her uncontrollable destructive magic. Chandra has by far the most Planeswalker cards of any Planeswalker in the game, a whopping 16 cards so far, and today we're going to put them all in a deck called Chandra Tribal. Our Chandra deck starts with our commander, Chandra Fire of Kaladesh. This Chandra starts off as a small pinger, but dealing 3 damage with her after using her ping ability ignites her spark, flipping her into Chandra Roaring Flame, packing more heat in her Planeswalker form. The rest of our Chandra Planeswalkers excel at 4 main things: drawing cards through wheels and impulse draw, copying and recurring instants and sorceries, generating mana, and of course, burning away our opponents and their creatures. To take advantage of all these sweet Planeswalkers and their abilities, we'll be running cards that increase the amount of damage that they do, copy loyalty abilities, and ramp them out onto the battlefield as quickly as possible. You can check out the full deck list in the description below, along with an accompanying article that goes more in depth on the card choices. With the deck intro out of the way, let's hop into the games. Game 1 has us pitted against Alpha Moyer, who I will call Alf, playing Okagachi Vengeful Kami. Okagachi is most often found leading Kamigawa flavored Spirit or Arcane decks, which is what I expect Alf's deck to be. Kamigawa decks are often slow to get going, but once they have a decent board presence, they can pull off some really sweet things. Our next opponent is TLUR, who I will call T, running Atraxa Praetor's Voice. Atraxa supports any and all types of counter strategies, so it's hard to guess what deck it's the commander of, though the most popular archetype Atraxa leads is Super Friends. Whatever it is, Atraxa is a terror in the skies that can take out my Chandras if I'm not careful. Our final opponent is returning viewer Ankylosaur, who I will call Ank, running Karlov of the Ghost Council along with the companion Lurrus of the Dream Den. Karlov is an aggressive life gain deck that can quickly grow into a huge threat if not immediately dealt with. Having been destroyed by Richard piloting a Karlov deck with Lurrus companion recently, Ank is the opponent that I am most scared of from the start. I win the die roll and go first, a great start. My hand is unexciting, lacking any of the early ramp that my deck is jam-packed with, but I deem the 3 lands and Bag of Holding a good enough start, so I keep it. I kick things off with a Mountain and Bag of Holding. The bag will smooth out my draws with its looting, and can later be popped to get back all the cards exiled with it, an excellent source of card draw. Alf plays a Forest and passes. T plays a Temple Garden and casts Caravan Escort, revealing their counter theme, Level Up Tribal. As someone who's seen Seth try and fail miserably at making level up work in the past, I mentally assign Atraxa as less of a threat, but I secretly hope that they pull off some sweet things. Ank plays a Swamp and casts Viscera Seer, signaling a sacrifice theme on top of a life gain theme. We play a Mountain and loot with Bag of Holding, exiling Chandra Flamecaller. Technically, this is a misplay since I should be looting at the end step before my turn, but I'm lazy and want to utilize the auto yield function on Magic Online to save some time. Alf plays a Forest and casts Loam Dweller, meaning they're either Spirit Tribal, Arcane Tribal, or both. Loam Dweller is a sweet little ramp engine in either deck. T plays a Bayou, levels up Caravan Escort, and smacks me with the mighty Tutu. Ank plays a Tainted Field and casts Karlov. I loot with Bag of Holding, exiling Byforce, then play a Vesuva copying a Mountain. Immediately after, I realized this was a misplay as I should have just cast Oath of Chandra to kill Karlov instead, but didn't read what the card does. A classic Tomer punt. Alf plays a Thriving Heath and passes. T plays a Hickory Woodlot, clearly going deep on the counter theme, then casts Time of Heroes, giving their level up creatures +2/+2. At end of turn, Ankh has Viscera Seer nom itself to scry. On Ankh's turn, they play a Scoured Barrens, gaining 1 life, which puts 2+1/+1 counters on Karlov, smacking me for 4 commander damage, then cast Blind Obedience. I cast a Mountain, then cast our commander, Chandra Fire of Kaladesh. Alf plays a Cascading Cataracts and passes. That mana base is looking very ambitious for a 5-color deck. T plays a Swamp and casts Kodama's Reach, putting an island into play and another in hand. Ankh plays Daxos Blessed by the Sun and Disciple of Gristlebrand, gaining a life off Daxos and attacking Alf with Karlov for 6. Karlov is quickly becoming a lethal threat. I ping Ankh with Chandra, cast Extraplanar Lens, imprinting a Mountain, play a Mountain, then cast Koth of the Hammer, untapping Chandra, then +1 Koth to untap a Mountain and turn it into a creature with the intent of tapping that Mountain to cast Oath of Chandra, blowing up Disciple of Gristlebrand and untapping Chandra so I can ping a 3rd time and flip her. Unfortunately, I targeted the Mountain I just cast so it has Summoning Sickness and I can't tap it for mana. A 2nd punt and we're only on turn 5. Alf plays a Swamp and casts Honden of Life's Web. This isn't just a Spirit or Arcane deck, this is a full-blown Kamigawa block deck. T plays an Island and casts Doubling Season, then levels up Caravan Escort into a 4/4, attacking and killing Koth. Ankh plays a Swamp and casts Shadows of the Past with Extort, then attacks T with Karlov for 8. The board is starting to look very scary. I'll need a way to level the field soon. At end step, I loot with Bag of Holding. Thankfully, I find the answer we need with Blasphemous Act. On my turn, I start by pinging Ankh with Chandra, cast Mox Amber, cast Oath of Chandra to untap Chandra, ping again, then cast Blasphemous Act to wipe the board. But before it resolves, we ping with Chandra one more time to transform her into a Planeswalker and save her from the wipe. Ankh responds by sacrificing their creatures to Disciple of Gristlebrand, gaining life and scrying. Then I +1 Chandra, dealing 2 damage to Ankh, and cast Chandra's Incinerator. This turn shifted the game completely in my favor. Alf makes a Spirit off Honden, then casts Long Forgotten Gohei and Baku Altar. T plays a Scrubland and casts Skywatcher Adept and Sword of Truth and Justice and equips it. Ankh bounces right back into the fight by casting Return to the Ranks for X=3, returning Viscera Seer, Karlov, and Daxos to the battlefield, with Karlov immediately becoming a 6/6. We cast Ugin the Ineffable, then use its -3 ability to blow up Karlov, +1 Chandra to do 2 damage to T, and 2 to the Adept with Incinerator. Oath of Chandra triggers at end step, dealing 2 damage to each opponent and 2 damage to Alf's Spirit, T's Adept, and Ankh's Seer with Incinerator. This is some beautiful synergy. Alf makes the Spirit off Honden, casts a Chromatic Lantern to fix all their mana, and passes. T plays a Peat Bog, casts Atraxa, equips it with Sword and passes, proliferating their lands. Ankh casts Siphon Mind and extorts, making their opponents discard a card and they draw 3. At end step, I loot with Bag of Holding and exile Furnace of Wrath. On my turn, I +1 Ugin, manifesting Chandra, Bold Pyromancer. Then I crack Bag of Holding, yoinking all the goodies that were stored inside. I then cast Seething Song, Chandra Flamecaller, and Bifrost to remove the Sword of Truth and Justice and Chromatic Lantern. Then I +1 Roaring Flame to burn T and Atraxa for 2, then use Flamecaller's 0 ability to wheel my hand, though I probably should have just held on to that Furnace of Wrath. At end step, Oath of Chandra burns our opponents and their creatures for 2, getting rid of the Spirit and Atraxa. Alf makes another Spirit token and passes. T casts Nirconic Cutthroat and levels it up to level 4. Ankh casts Austere Command, destroying all artifacts and creatures with CMC 4 or greater, finally ending our hot streak. Then they attack Chandra Roaring Flame for 2 with Daxos, preventing us from using her ultimate next turn. I guess it won't be a free win for us after all. On my turn, I +1 Chandra Roaring Flame to deal 2 damage to Ankh, and +1 Ugin to manifest a mountain. Since I don't want to cast Reforge the Soul and refill our opponent's hands, I go with a bolder line. I play a mountain and cast Repeated Reverberation to copy Chandra Flamecaller's wheel ability twice, essentially drawing me 2 extra cards while filling my graveyard for later recursion. While the safer play would have been to just wipe the board with the Flamecaller, I can't say no to card draw. Then I cast Mind Stone, keeping Solemn Simulacrum in hand as ammo for Valakut later. Alf makes a Spirit token with Honden, then casts Sanctum of All, the key to making their Shrine plan work. As someone who has played a ton of Shrine Tribal recently, I recognize Sanctum as a serious threat if left alone. T plays Gemstone Mine and attacks us with Nirkana Cutthroat. We chump with our Spirit token, which dies and puts Chandra Bold Pyromancer into her hand. Then T casts Atraxa again. Ankh plays the Authority of the Consuls with Extort, casts Karlov, then attacks with Daxos, hitting Chandra Flamecaller for 2, preventing me from using her board wipe ability next turn. I cast Chandra Ablaze, +1ing her, pitching Chandra Bold Pyromancer to kill Karlov. I then play Valakut the Molten Pinnacle, use Ugin's -3 ability to blow up the Sanctum, +1 Chandra Roaring Flame to ping Ankh for 2, and +1 Chandra Flamecaller to make elemental tokens. Alf makes a Spirit token with Honden, plays a Forest, then casts Ayobi who split the heavens. T plays a Windswept Heath, then attacks Ankh with Atraxa and Chandra Ablaze with Nirkana Cutthroat, which I chump with my Spirit token, getting the exiled mountain when it dies. Ankh casts Hero's Downfall, killing Chandra Ablaze, then hits Chandra Roaring Flame for 2. My vulnerable Planeswalkers are getting picked off, but thankfully I've got some heavy artillery coming up. I play Thespian Stage and use its ability to copy Valakut the Molten Pinnacle. With 2 active Valakuts in play, each mountain we play comes with 2 free lightning bolts. By casting and sacrificing Burnished Heart to get 2 mountains, and activating both of my Chandra's burn abilities, I clean up the board of everything except for Daxos the Blessed, the sole survivor of my fiery apocalypse. Alf makes a Spirit with Honden and then casts Chromatic Orrery. T casts Hex Drinker and immediately levels it up to a 6/6 with protection from everything, ensuring my burn spells won't remove it like the rest of their creatures. Ankh attacks and kills Chandra Flamecaller with Daxos, casts Serra Ascendant with Extort, then pays 3 mana to put their Lurrus Companion into their hand. Running low on spells, I crack Mind Stone and draw Sarkhan the Masterless. I then play a mountain, using our Valakuts to kill Serra Ascendant, -2 Chandra Roaring Flame to burn Daxos for 2, then cast Solemn Simulacrum, getting another mountain and 2 more Valakut triggers, blowing up Daxos and my Solemn to draw Chandra Flames Catalyst. I then cast Sarkhan the Masterless and -3 him to make a dragon token. At this point, I'm confident that I can take out at least 2 opponents next turn. Alf makes a Spirit token with Honden and casts Okagachi and Life Spinner. T casts Transcendent Master and Atraxa, then cracks Windswept Heath for a Tundra and levels up the Master, holding back the Hex Drinker to protect their dwindling life total. Ankh casts Arguel's Bloodfast and passes with 4 mana up. On my turn, I'm finally ready to flambe my opponents. I +1 Chandra Roaring Flame to burn T for 2, play a mountain, burning Alf and T's life totals with Valakuts, then +1 Sarkhan to turn our Planeswalkers into dragons, attacking for a whopping 12 damage in the air. Then I cast Chandra Flames Catalyst, +1ing her to deal 3 damage to each opponent, killing T immediately and putting Alf dead to Oath of Chandra at end of turn. After briefly considering holding back Chandra Heart of Fire in hand in case Ankh has a Planeswalker board wipe, I declare that I have no fear and cast it anyway, setting myself up for a glorious next turn if my opponent doesn't have Merciless Eviction. Can he Merciless Eviction targeting Planeswalkers? Yeah, that would completely blow us up, but I believe in the heart of the cards. Turns out, Ankh had Merciless Eviction. At this point, things fall apart. Poor top decks make us fall too far behind Ankh, who's drawing multiple cards per turn off Arguel's Bloodfast and continues to gain more and more life. I give it my all, but in the end, our flame dies out. Despite not leaving with the win here, I was very impressed with the deck. Even with all my punts, Chandra Tribal did a lot of sweet things and dominated the majority of the match. even taking out 2 opponents pretty much single-handedly. With some experience now under my belt, I say my GGs and head into Game 2. Game 2 has us up against Nannerpuss, who I will call Nan, running Surok Dragonclaw. Surok is the leader of any type of creature deck, so I'm not sure what to expect. Our next opponent is Remove Ryan, who I will call Rai, playing Kaalia of the Vast. Kaalia is an old school boogeyman of Commander and remains one of the best high power aggro options in the format, cheating in enormous game-winning angels, demons, and dragons as quickly as possible. This will surely be our toughest foe at the table. Finally, there's Philip SLR, who I will call Phil, running Jolrael, Monvuli Recluse. I'm just gonna call her Jol. I'm just gonna call her Joe. Joe is definitely a unique mono green commander, focusing on drawing tons of cards while churning out tokens. It's not something I've experienced much yet, and I'm excited to see how the deck performs. We win the die roll and go first, the Ghost of Worth favoring us once more. We keep an average looking hand with 2 lands and a Mind Stone. We don't have any explosive plays or particularly exciting cards, but it'll do. Our first turn immediately heats up when we draw Ancient Tomb, letting us cast Mind Stone on turn 1 and setting us up for 4 mana on turn 2. Our opponents have much less spicy turn 1s, each playing a land and passing. On turn 2, we cast Seething Song to ramp out Chandra Flames Catalyst. That's right, a 6 mana Planeswalker on turn 2. We start ticking her up, dealing 3 damage to each opponent. Our opponents are definitely in hot water now. Nan plays a Mountain and passes. Rai plays Dragon Tempest. This means that Kaalia will have haste and be able to cheat out a creature the turn that she's cast. Phil casts Joe. I cast Chandra Fire of Kaladesh and tick up Chandra Flames Catalyst, pinging my opponents for another 3 damage. My Planeswalker will be ready to ultimate in 2 more turns, and I'm getting really excited. Nan unfortunately doesn't find a 3rd land and passes. Rai plays a Swamp and passes. If they have another land, then Kaalia will be online and swinging next turn. Phil plays a Forest, casts Sylvan Library, and passes. We attack Rai with Chandra Fire of Kaladesh, then cast Chandra's Phoenix, untapping Chandra, then ping with Chandra and transform her into Chandra Roaring Flame and use her -2 ability to kill Joe. Then we forget to tick up Chandra Flames Catalyst, a massive punt that delays our dreams of an ultimate by another turn. A classic Tomer move. Nan top decks a Forest and casts Cultivate, putting an island in play and a forest in hand, hopefully fixing their mana issues. Rai plays Battlefield Forge and casts Kaalia the Vast, getting haste from Dragon Tempest and attacking Nan, cheating Runescarred Demon into play and tutoring a card from their library. Whatever they found has to be very bad for us. Phil draws an extra card off Sylvan Library, plays a Forest and casts Lightning Greaves. This time we make sure to immediately tick up Chandra Flames Catalyst. Then we use Chandra Roaring Flames -2 ability to kill Kaalia of the Vast, hopefully delaying whatever crazy turn they had planned. Rai lets Kaalia go to the graveyard, however, a clear indicator that they plan to reanimate her. Then we play a Mountain and cast Runehorn Hellkite, an extra flying blocker to protect our Planeswalker. If we just survive one more turn, we can finally ultimate. Nan plays a Forest and casts Colossal Majesty, setting up for some future stompy turns. On Rai's turn, they reanimate Kaalia, swinging Kaalia at me and the demon at Phil. Kaalia cheats an Avacyn Angel of Hope, making their entire board indestructible. Thankfully, I get to chump block both attacking creatures, but Avacyn is really bad for me. I can't think of a single creature removal in my deck that works against indestructible. Phil plays a Forest, casts Joe, and equips her with Lightning Greaves. Then it's my turn. After checking my deck list for answers against Rai's board, I realize my only out is finding Karn Liberated to exile Avacyn. With this in mind, I know what I must do. I cast Runaway Steamkin and Rings of Brighthearth, and now, after 4 turns of anticipation, it's finally time. I ultimate Chandra Flames Catalyst, discarding my hand, drawing 7 cards, casting all spells from my hand this turn for free. My new hand has a bunch of duds, but fortunately I'm able to cast Cathartic Reunion and copy it twice with repeated reverberation, discarding 2 cards and drawing 9. And that's when I saw my salvation, Underworld Breach. with the ability to cast all spells from my hand for free, and the ability to cast all the cards in my graveyard repeatedly, including Cathartic Reunion and Seething Song, and Runaway Steamkin generating extra mana for me, it was impossible to fail. And trust me, I played this turn horribly, with awful sequencing, but Underworld Breach made all my mistakes irrelevant. So I continued to draw cards, generate mana, and cast spells, searching for that elusive Karn to get rid of Avacyn, until I looked up at my opponent's life totals and realized I had lethal on both of them. I learned a valuable lesson today. It turns out the Karn I was looking for all along were the super friends I made along the way. Basically what I'm saying is I burned my opponents to death with Chandras. So there you go, some sizzling hot Chandra gameplay. Despite a gimmicky deck building restriction, the deck was way stronger than I anticipated and insanely fun to play. Honestly, I'm thinking about picking up a paper copy of it myself. Thanks for watching everyone, and until next time friends, see ya! Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up with the latest and greatest, click on the subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to check out similar videos, click on the links here and here.